We are live. Maybe. I think it's having. Okay, we're good. We're live. We are live.
We live?
Are we officially live now?
We're officially live now.
Oh, where'd Jeremy go?
Okay.
He disappeared.
Welcome back to episode 5 of Operation Imparts. I am joined with Sabian, Connor, and Jeremy today. We'll be going over some essentials of what you need to know in case of nuclear fallout. Ignore the title because the title is wrong. Starting off, we're going to lead right into our first big news article of the day. North Korea claims test of 2 cruise missiles already deployed to carry tactical nukes. Pretty much they're preparing for the launch of nuclear weapons on South Korea, figuring out how far they fly, how long it takes, and kind of what the damage scale would be. Launched them over Japan, over a couple of U.S. bases as well, and has initiated a pretty big response from the world about it. And we'll keep you updated as more information comes in. Fucking North Korea, though. Fuck those guys.
Right? They're like, yeah, let's just go ahead and bomb everybody. They also sent one close to Japan recently as well.
Yeah,
Right.
I believe they actually sent 2 of them over Japan, and it actually landed up in the water during their testing.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah.
And I know we have to also. We'll pass on to Jeremy about. Was it China who released the sun into the sky?
Yes. Yes. Okay, so quite literally, you can look this up. The Chinese admit this. That they have basically a sun generator. It sounds like some Minecraft shit, but it's not. They literally have generated a simulated sun and then casted it off one of the Chinese coasts. I don't know where specifically it was, but you can go and Google a video of this bright frickin' light. It's in like, I think it was in the dark, like it was pitch black, and all of a sudden this ball of light rises up, and it's like daytime, and that's some pretty scary stuff. Watching that video, I basically pooped myself. I was like, oh, so now we're just dropping the sun and raising it and playing with it over the coast of China now.
That's so sketchy. It's kind of like
Americans are not the premium rice cookers anymore. It's gonna be
Apparently.
it's
When
gonna
it comes
be
to cooking
the
rice,
Chinese,
Asians know best,
right?
can't beat
Oh,
them.
right? I mean, well, we have.
Just a couple times.
I mean,
Twice.
history says.
2-time winner.
America's like, we're gonna drop the sun on you twice. They're like, we're gonna make the sun twice.
America to Asia, zip. Scoreboard.
Along with that, the U.S., even though they have said it's a coincidence, they have recently purchased $300 million worth of Nplate, which is a medication specifically for radiation sicknesses and for people that have exposed high levels of radiation. We'll jump to Connor for a little bit more information on that.
I mean, yeah, you pretty much said it already. $290 million is the actual amount that they spent, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. According to NBC News, it's coincidental that it was purchased right as North Korea started their testing, even though, and I quote, Biden says we are on the brink of a nuclear Armageddon.
Nuclear Armageddon.
Biden's quote, nuclear Armageddon. So start collecting your bottle caps.
Somebody should tell him what the word Armageddon means.
A little bit.
Well, I mean, you remember how he described fucking America in one word, right? SFN.
Oh, right.
Right.
Who
Oh, I mean, completely unrelated, but this is also coming from the same guy that said he was going to pardon everybody that had a federal marijuana offense. So,
And drunk driving is not a felony.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute.
Right.
Wait a minute. He's the one that said he was going to pardon everyone with medical marijuana offenses, but
simple possession offenses.
oh, well, what about him sending all those people in the attacks on the black community to jail with crack and all that with the war on drugs?
And I also think the big thing to point out here is that simple possession is not a federal charge. There's 0 people in jail on a federal charge of simple possession.
That's a ticket at most
What?
for simple
I
possession.
mean, what was it? The crime bill of what? What was it? Is some crime bill? I can't.
One of them.
Right.
I can't remember which one it was and who passed that and who was the leader of wanting to get that passed and who was the vice president at the time. Or was he the vice president at the time?
No, I think he was just in Congress.
He was just in Congress, yeah.
Right. He was a vice president. What? With Obama?
With Obama?
Yeah.
Obama!
Obama.
I want to be a part of Obama.
Why would you want to be a part of Obama? I mean, Michael
Then I could say, I'm Team Obama.
I'm Team Obama.
You can say that. You're just gonna get your shit rocked by us.
Tangent. So
And that's how this podcast is going to go. That right there.
So to jump into the nuclear, there's going to be three types of nukes that are out there. You're going to have your hydrogen, which is nuclear fission or fusion. Sorry. So you get your fusion bombs, your fission bombs, and then you're going to have your radiological bombs, and they're all going to impact a little differently. There's an estimated of like 100. I think it's like 100 or so different types of nukes, and that's like per country essentially. Russia being one of the top leading, along with China, and the good old
and U.S. of A.
World War, 2 World War champs over here. Let's make it a third. I mean,
oh boy,
back at it.
Well, with all the jokes,
again.
Considering where we are in the world today, this is something that needs to be taken seriously. I mean, it is a threat every day of nuclear war. Just because you have countries like Russia and North Korea that don't give a fuck. So.
And
we're about to fuck around and find out.
It probably won't happen like within soon. I was watching a guy who is going to be a lot of our talking points today with mirror safety. He was talking about how it probably won't occur right now, but it's going
within our lifetime.
Within our lifetime, it's going to depend on how the U.S. reacts with with Ukraine. Russia obviously has stated that if we do get involved, that they are going to start nuking. Putin has said that probably twice now, and which is kind of scary to think of, because if we go into Ukraine and deploy those 80,000 troops that we're talking about, that could set everything in motion to have a nuclear attack, because once one's fired, multiple are going to be fired, and that's kind of the scary part. And also, it's kind of the scariest part is the whose dick is bigger game that we're going to end up playing with nukes.
Which, let the record hold, the U.S. is biggest. We do have the biggest dick in the game. Okay. We sling it, and we're slapping 47 countries. Yeah, we're huge.
But
I don't think you guys understand what the fuck you're talking about. This is like bright light, you're over.
Yeah, this is...
Nobody wins in that scenario, Nate.
Because,
we turned off the sun.
Yeah. I mean,
look, okay.
We could
in
essentially
Japan,
go into an ice age at that point.
I did see an article about that. Like, could global nuclear war
cause an ice age?
Cause an ice age and
Yep.
stop global warming? It's like, who cares? We're all dead.
We're all fucked. We're gone.
Right. You want to see the
So-
snowfall? It's not gonna be snow. It's gonna be your grandma.
Solve
You?
global warming, nuclear holocaust.
Which one outweighs itself?
That's so freaking bad.
No
It's
more
so bad.
petrol, all nuclear.
We're gonna burn like 5 times more, just fucking digging up fucking lithium ion for the fucking batteries.
Oh yeah, we'll
than burning any fucking petrol car.
The good news is that nobody would have to worry about fossil fuels ever again.
Yeah, they're already burnt up in the air. There's never going to be fossil fuels again after us.
I would
Look.
just like to point out Jeremy's aneurysm over there over this conversation right now.
Cause it's so fucking morbid. Like,
You
I mean,
know
we
what?
talk about the Jews. We talk about like all these people. Like,
Whoa,
Ar-
not on
Armenian.
podcast.
I'm just saying, like, as far as like a historical moment, we talk about mass death. This trumps it all. It is just like 3 nukes, and we're past all that like head counting, just counting
head
people.
count.
Freaking body bags, not even body bags.
I was
We
gonna
will
say-
be the plastic.
You wouldn't need body bags. It's already cremated.
That's my point. Like we make plastics from oil from the ocean, oil from dead things. We will be the next bag. We will be gone.
If there's even civilization left at that point.
The whole planet will be like Atlantis.
Pretty much. No more land
And like
masses.
I told you all, this is how this podcast is going to be, a bunch of tangents. But with that, let's roll into the talking point. Sabian?
So the talking point of there's going to be different types of, different types of bombs that can be used, as we were talking about, fission, fusion, and radiological. But with that, you're going to have a lot of environmental impacts. Water sources are going to go bad. Obviously, ground zero isn't going to be a ground anymore. And the scary part is of most of the places that are going to be hit first, due to having large military forces there, stuff like that, is going to be the most populated places. New York, Seattle, Texas. They have a large military there. Most of those places are going to be bombed first. And, I mean, that's depending on what the size of the bomb is, it's going to spread through most of the, fallout's going to spread throughout most of the U.S. And with that is going to be nuclear fallout, which is the particles in the air falling on top of everything. That is going to contaminate everything possible. It's going to contaminate the animals in the area. It's going to contaminate homes. It's going to contaminate water sources, running rivers, all that type of stuff. So it's kind of scary because we need water to survive. We need houses to live in, kind of, if they're there still. Jeremy. He's having a stroke.
Well, I've been listening to the news a little bit too much this week.
You go
Pretty much. The
So
whole
part-
point of this podcast is we're not operating on the theory of absolute whole world destroyed. If the 4 biggest countries launched every single nuke they had, the world would be gone. 99% of civilization's wiped out. The world's changed forever. And obviously, in today's day and age, any type of nuclear warfare is going to leave a substantial impact and fallout following it. But not necessarily to the scale of every single country launching every nuke they have in their arsenal. I don't know the exact number. I think the last time I looked, it was estimated 200 to 300 nukes currently. If anybody knows that number better than I do,
I think it's like
It's
that
in the thousands, I think.
Yeah, I think it's that
Right.
per country. It's like about 200 per country.
per
I want to say it's around like 14 to 1600.
Yeah.
right.
total.
So I mean, you're talking 14 to 1600 nuclear bombs that have 10 to 15 times the power of the one and only time nuclear bombs have been used. The world's gone at that point.
50. I think the largest was the SARS bomb that the U.S. has dropped. That's the largest the U.S. has currently used. I believe China has tested one that's even bigger than that, which is. Let me pull up a diagram right here. No, the SARS bomba was the Soviet. They used that, and that was the biggest nuclear bomb that was tested, which is kind of scary because it is the bloom of it. So the top peak is a 50 megaton nuke, so it's pretty big nuke. The top of the mushroom or the mushroom cloud, the bloom of it is 200,000 feet in the air. So think of how far that nuclear fallout is going. That's well over.
Going into space.
That's in space, but no, all that fallout is going with thousands of miles away from ground zero where the bomb went off. So you have not only the impact zone and where all of that gamma radiation, all that's essentially incinerating people as soon as it touches them. You also have all the fallout, and that's going to be the scariest because you can survive the gamma radiation in certain ways, which we'll talk about a little bit. But you're not going to survive ground zero. You might be able to survive, most likely will be able to survive if you know how to survive the gamma rays and all that. And then the fallout, you can survive as long as you're prepared. And again, like we always talk about, training. This goes along with everything that you train. Not every day, like we suggest on most things, like shooting a gun, stuff like that. Or, but you will need to train periodically and hopefully regularly for this stuff, mostly now, because of how high of threats are now and the fact that the U.S. is preparing for nuclear war and just not telling anybody. We got to really step up our game on preparedness and equipment and all that stuff.
Yeah. But that's like in a more... That's like conservative efforts, by the way. Like, you're only going to survive conservative efforts. There's no way anybody's going to survive a thermoglobal nuclear war.
Yeah.
If there's might as well just pop around in your fucking skull at that point.
That's a little dark. I wouldn't want to think about that. It's really black pilling.
I keep around just for me at all times.
Anyway.
I'm not gonna tell you rocket.
Oh, fuck.
The second tallest at 100,000 feet for the top of the mushroom cloud is the U.S. with the Castle Bravo, which is a 15 megaton nuke. So think about that. I mean, the Soviet Russia, the people threatening nukes, have the Tsar Bomba, which is 2-3 times ours.
Yeah.
And remember, this is just what's public information. We don't really know what countries have in their arsenal.
Yeah, this is public.
As we have seen in the past, it seems that sometimes the U.S. just pulls shit out of their ass.
It's true.
We don't really know, though.
I mean, that could be the game plan with the U.S. They could be like, yeah, our biggest bomb's 15 megatons, no big deal. And Russia's like, oh, yeah, you want to see our biggest? And we're like, oh, wow, that's big.
Next thing we know, we have a fucking giant-ass dome around the fucking whole U.S.
Right?
Just bounces a nuke right off of it.
I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
But
that would be sick.
Some good news for all of us here in the U.S. if something like this happens. The U.S. is actually currently developing technology. So these nukes have come a long way since 1945. They're no longer just dropped out of goddamn planes. Some of them are, but for the most part, they're launched just like a standard missile from the ground or from a boat, something like that. Um,
Submarine.
I know a lot of submarines carry nukes. That way, they can be launched at any point in time. They don't have to worry about them being damaged from a nuclear attack. But because of this, all of these nukes are GPS coordinated. So they have a computer inside of there that has the coordinates mapped into them. So that way, they're being told exactly where to go. That's given the U.S. the ability to start tampering with these and trying to figure out a way to reprogram a nuke while it's in the air, giving the possibility that a nuke could be rerouted away from the U.S.
It's pulling that Uno reverse card on Russia,
Right.
We'll send it back to you, buddy.
As far as we know, it's
Reverse,
technology
reverse.
that's being worked on, and it hasn't been said to be effective yet, but it's been released that it is being worked on. So to know that that kind of technology exists out there will make countries think twice about launching a nuke. Russia launches a nuke and Putin thinks he wins, and then all of a sudden he watches on the screen as it turns back heading towards him. You might shit a brick.
Correct me if I'm wrong. We actually just lost a Russian submarine called the Poseidon somewhere in the coast that is capable of firing a fucking nuclear, like, tsunami missile. Is what I think
Oh,
I read.
I remember.
Yes,
Yeah.
actually, we
You
did.
guys know what
yeah.
I'm talking about?
Yes. I don't think its name is the Poseidon. I think that's the class of sub.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Okay.
a class Poseidon.
Right.
Okay.
Poseidon class. Yeah.
Pretty much all of that means is that if it has to be a class Poseidon sub to be able to carry a nuke.
Along with that, with the nuclear fallout, all that stuff, you're going to have, like we were talking about, environmental changes. That radiation is going to stay there for a while. I believe there's still radioactive areas in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Even to this day, that's still too radioactive for people to live in. You're going to have genetic mutations from humans, plants, all that fallout and radiation is going to mutate everything that it touches and stays on for long enough and is breathed in long enough. So humans, animals out in the wilderness are going to end up to start mutating. Plants are going to start mutating, which is going to also go into the soil. So you can't ever use that, well, not ever, but you can't use that soil for 5, 6, 10, 20 years after the fallout has laid into it. Along with that, you're going to have a nuclear winter like Jeremy and I were talking about, which is, it puts a layer above the ozone of gases that is just going to sit there, and it's going to cause that gloomy kind of wintry feeling, and that's going to stay there for a while as well.
It'll drop the temperature significantly.
Yes.
Right, and that's actually like the people kind of make fun of the whole nuclear winter part. They think it's like radioactive stuff flying in the air. It's kind of true. It's mostly wind. It's mostly like wind currents and cold air that will freeze the isotopes and kind of turn them into like snowflake ash. It's essentially like acid.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's very, very bad for you. Surviving a nuclear winter is almost unlikely.
It'll probably be the hardest part about all of this.
Right. If you do happen to survive it, you probably won't survive it for long. Because all those radioactive isotopes will eventually leach into the ground, even post fallout, and create like it's just not good. It's not good for a very long time.
Yeah, and with that, you should have a plan. I mean, whether this plan stays with you and you don't use it, or passes down to your kids, the fact that nukes have been around for so long and haven't been used relatively that much, or they, we've just tested them. We haven't used them besides the 2 times. You should have a plan. The fact we have 14 or thousands of nukes on the planet, you should have that, because all it takes is someone hacking, someone wanting to turn tides or win a war that they couldn't win unless they used nukes. You want to have a plan. And
Right.
say it does happen. We get the news alert, hey, you need to bunker down. You need to bunker down, like they did back in the day, like the 60s, 50s, 40s-ish. I can't remember. They used to have those preparedness in schools and stuff like that, which was kind of bullshit because, hiding underneath your fucking desk in school, the desk is going to be gone along with your classmate, But there is ways of protecting yourself. A good way is gamma rays are going to have a tough time going through solid ground, the ground, and concrete. Concrete's going to be the best to prevent yourself from getting gamma radiation exposure. So the best thing, say if you're walking on the street, or if you perhaps live in an apartment in like Seattle, New York, areas like that, and ground zero isn't going to hit where you're at, but you're going to be hit with, the gamma rays, the shock wave, all that stuff. You want to find an area that has the most concrete available for you. So those big skyscrapers, the very, very bottom, if it's not ground zero, the very, very bottom where there's concrete surrounding you. Even parking lots underground, like for those apartment buildings, that would even suffice. I would go into the stairwell where you have that concrete and dirt and everything around that building to protect you from those gamma rays. With that, if you live in a house that has a good basement that's concrete, like older houses usually did with their foundations, they sunk it down, that would work. I would do some modifications if you have windows, stuff like that, but that will prevent more than you can think. You wouldn't want to be. It's better to have something than nothing, essentially. So within sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things I read up on was if you are in your home, one thing you really want to focus on, once you do get that alert, close off any kind of window seals, doorways, or like fireplace dampeners.
Yeah.
With like duct tape, any kind of like plastic or any kind of sheeting that'll close those off. And they actually make some pretty cool like sheeting that they use in MRI rooms and X-ray rooms that are basically shields.
Lead shieldings.
Either lead or I'm trying to think of the name of it. Yeah, it was like a military grade, like EMF type material.
Yeah. Yeah, so that, or there's always the possibilities you can build a bunker. If you have a big enough basement, you can dedicate, that has multiple rooms, you can dedicate a room specifically to be closed off and have its own ventilation and all that stuff.
Right, or if you have a big enough property, there's companies that make bunkers
that go straight underground. You can purchase them. They'll come install it, all that stuff. Texas, lots of Texas homes right off the market have bunkers underneath it, ready to go. So Texas being a big hit point, you got those houses that you can just go underground whenever you need. And that's mostly due to hurricanes and stuff like that. But at least you'll have that protection that's better than nothing. And then you could also install a good HVAC system that purifies the air that comes in there and all that stuff.
Right. And we're talking about metal, like thick steel bunkers 10 feet down, encased in concrete.
Mhm.
As far as trying to survive nuclear fallout, that is as good of an option as you get.
Not
The problem with those are
not fallout, but the initial blast and
Right.
gamma rays.
right.
I think what a lot of people are doing is taking like metal shipping containers,
And putting them in
digging
the
a pit
ground.
in ground, put them in the ground, and then case it in concrete, and then just add in like HVAC systems like you were talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Another good one, if you can. I mean, as much as I don't like electric cars, Teslas. If you're not in the blast radiation, you're not. It's not going to protect you from gamma rays. It's going to go straight through that car. But for fallout purposes, a Tesla will be awesome because a Tesla has a built-in air purification system for biohazard chemicals. That is what Tesla designed it for. So that's always an option with, you could be thousands of miles away from, or not thousands, let's say hundreds of miles away from ground zero, but you're worried about the fallout coming onto your car. You can always use that until you can get to your kit that you need. The first hour is going to be the most important because that is going to determine, again, whether you get exposure from fallout or gamma rays. You want to make sure that you stay hunkered down for the first hour.
Hour one is critical.
At least, because hour one, within that hour time span, most of the radiation reduces to about 70 to 80%. And then after that, you essentially should wait 24 hours at least before you go up away from your protected bunker, basement, staircase. Make sure, because around hour 24, 90% of the material that is going to be harmful to you is going to be gone.
That's right. It's actually what I've been reading here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all incredibly critical. Um, you listen to this and you might think, well, the whole fucking thing's critical. And I mean, you're right. The whole survival process of this, the months and years that it's going to be, it's all going to be critical. But you have to survive the first 24 hours to even start worrying about the future. So,
Yep.
Right.
And, after those 24 hours, we all got, important stuff to us, homes, stuff like that, animals. We obviously want to stay with them as long as we can. That being said, you kind of have to base everything around, like Nate was saying, if you survive those 24 hours and how you can go to a week. You're going to need stockpiles of water, food. Like we said, with environmental impacts, water is not going to be a thing you can just go grab out of a lake and purify. Modern purification methods, like we talked about in previous bug out stuff, are not going to work with nuclear fallout. You cannot pull that radiation out of that water with just the simple stuff, iodine tabs. You can't do it. It will not.
right, you can't drink the water. You can't eat a fish. You can't kill an animal and eat that. It's
Right. You don't know where that animal's been, if it's been in the hot zone, if
Exactly.
right because you take all of these steps and then you pull a fish out of a river, and that fish is what causes you to die. That's just
And that's third-eyed fish.
this is where the importance of MREs or 5-gallon buckets of food that you can eat, having pastas on hand. I mean, fuck, you can go to Costco and buy a 40 pack of water for $2.
Yeah. And
This is you have a closet in your house somewhere that you're not using right now. Just start throwing shit in there. Go buy a couple cases of water, throw it in there.
along with your planning, you should always keep that stored stuff in safe, places. You want to put that stuff in your bunker because then that's going to protect the food, all that stuff from any gamma ray, anything that's going through that house that is harmful or radioactive. Put it in your bunker. Put it in your safe area that you're going to be at. You don't want to have to run back upstairs and possibly get exposed to stuff when the time's not right to go upstairs.
Ideally, you would have enough food and water to survive a year.
Yep.
Ideally, you would have enough to survive a year to where if you had the ability for you and your family to not leave the bunker for a whole year, that would be what you would want.
Yep. Ideally,
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum. Ideally, you'd want to get out of Dodge as quick as you can. If you don't have the PPE that we're going to talk about soon on hand, obviously stay in your bunker as long as you can. So you mitigate that exposure to the radiation. Keep that year stock in there. Keep it up to date. You don't want to be eating most of the stuff we're talking about, MRE, stuff like that, has a shelf life of 20 years. So God forbid in 20 years we have nuclear fallout and your food's out of date. It tastes like, regardless, you'll probably eat it if it tastes like shit, but, you don't want to get...
it's an MRE, you can't be picking and choosing on taste.
You don't want to get sick from that stuff as well.
Right.
It's also important to remember that unlike what we were talking about with our previous episodes with bug out and stuff like that, your year supply is going to be less food than what you think it is, because the amount of food that you eat currently with your everyday job and everything like that is up because you're exercising all day long, walking around. Even if you're sitting at a desk, you still got to get up, do things. You're moving constantly. If you're just in your bunker, you're not going to drink as much fluid. You're not going to eat as much food. Your calorie output is going to be down, so your calorie input is also going to be down.
Yep.
So that's just something to keep in mind when you're thinking about this and you're going, well, God, that's a lot of food. It's like, well, it is if you needed to eat what you're eating currently. But if something like this happens, you won't be eating what you eat currently.
Yeah. Main goal, though, is, you honestly want to get out of wherever the hot zone as quick as possible. If you can. Like, if you have your PPE. If not, stay in your bunker. But if you can, all you, your pets, whatever, get your PPE, get out of Dodge as quick as you can. Again, those Teslas will be awesome because you can wear your PPE for a few minutes, get in your Tesla, put biohazard on, and go. And
I'm going to be really honest and brutal here, and it's going to sound terrible, but if you're in the hot zone when it happens, I would say it's almost a 100% guarantee that you're not going to be taking your animals with you. It is almost a 100% guarantee. You're not going to have the PPE required for animals. It's just going to be so hard to protect your animals from the radiation, let alone making sure that your animals get into the safe space. Now you're having to worry about the contamination from radiation and how it's affecting your animal, if your animal even survives the first 24 hours. Mm-hmm. Obviously, have some dog or cat food and stuff on hand if in case your animal does survive. But you need to be able to face the fact that if something like this happens, your animal is probably not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be going back to basic medieval. Nobody really has a dog or a cat, and if they do, it's less of a luxury and less of a a pet.
There are
if you have a fucking Chihuahua, leave that shit at home. That Chihuahua's not gonna do you any good. It's gonna be a waste of fucking time. Get rid of it.
Yeah, the purse mutt or purse cat that you like carrying around when you go to Walmart.
Those ugly ass naked cats. Fuck those things.
Dude, those rats already have radiation. It's just these breeders just don't want to tell them.
No wonder they're fucking naked.
They're hairless
Right.
because they got cancer.
Because they're chemoed. Oh, man.
Emo kitty.
But on with that, we're going to go ahead and go into our PPE, or radiation suits and masks. So with that, this is very important, and I want you to not take this with any grain of salt. grain of rice, whatever the saying is. I want you to take this exactly how I say it. Buy name brand, top of the line, expensive shit you can for PPE. Don't cheap out. If this shit
is not.
If this shit happens, you will fucking die. And it will be a painful death. Ask anyone ask anyone going through chemo or radiation therapy. Fucking sucks. Your body hurts all the time. Imagine that, but without any painkillers, out anything else that modern medicine can help you mitigate with that shit.
We're talking at 1,000 times the scale.
If you are in the hot zone, it will be 1,000 times the scale, and your skin will feel like it is boiling off.
That's because it literally is being blasted.
Yeah.
On a microscopic level. It's like a shotgun blast, and it's on
You
a
put
cellular
your body
level.
in a fucking microwave is what you
Right.
did.
Yeah.
Tearing yourself apart.
So
And at first it'll feel like itching, and then it'll feel like burning, and then it'll feel like
chlamydia.
broiling. Oh yeah, and then there's a recovery phase where you'll feel fine, your face will be all red and shit, and then you die. It's terrible.
So do not cheap out on any PPE for nuclear stuff. That being said, always, always, always buy Seaburn, SBRN equipment. Do not buy your Wilco respirators, your Home Depot respirators. Do not buy that $50 respirator on Amazon made from China. It will not fucking protect you at all. There's a great site that makes very, very, very affordable stuff that is very modular for both military use, civilian use, etc. Mira Safety, they are awesome. They have everything from gas masks to filters to radiation suits, radiation gloves, all that stuff. They even are the first and only, at least from what I can see, the only company that makes a dome filtration system for your pets. So again, we were talking about your pets. This is, if you love your pet so much, I mean, I know I do. I believe these things are pretty pricey, to be honest. Just take a peek on their website right now. But that is one way you can protect your pet, by giving them a way to stay away from that radiation, stay away from the fallout, all that stuff, and still be, safe. I'm trying to find it right now.
When it comes to the pets, I mean, I go back to a family joke. Do you have a $2,000 dog? Which what that means is every time you take that dog to the vet, does it cost you $2,000? Because that means that you love that dog so much that you're willing to drop $2,000 at the vet. So if you have a $2,000 dog, this is the equipment you need to be buying.
I'm trying to find it right now. But, so along with that, Seaburn mask. Buy that. Go to a reputable site. Mira, they are great. They have military grade shit. It is good for if you are going to be using your firearm, because week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week, a month, a year, with natural disasters or even nuclear fallout, there's always people that take advantage. Always. Look at Hurricane Ian and people looting. So most likely you're going to end up using your firearm at some point. They have a very cheap, this runs you $275, I believe free shipping. This gas mask is a CM7M military gas mask. It uses 40 millimeter NATO gas cartridges, which is a very important thing because NATO is a group of countries
World
that
leaders.
that use the same equipment to kind of mitigate, like the 5.56 NATO cartridge, all that stuff. So you want to get one that uses a 40 millimeter NATO gas cartridge or filter, because if you ever run out, you might be able to pick one up off of someone. You might be able to go to a military installation and find one of those, or find a case of them. These are butyl masks. So this will protect you from blistering agents if we end up getting nuked, and say they use mustard gas, anything that we've seen that is a blistering agent. This mask will not deteriorate or melt like other cheaper masks will. $280 for this mask is actually pretty cheap, to be honest. The only thing with the military one that I would kind of be iffy about is the fact it does use independent eye holes. This isn't one of them. This is a cheap surplus one. Do not get these ones. They are outdated. They will not protect you from anything. But they do have the two separate eye holes, which will kind of impede a little bit on your sight and peripheral, your field of view and all that. It is good. This one's good though for, like I was saying, optics and stuff. It is cut to be more viable with having a gun, running and gunning, whatever you got to do for business. They do have a CM6M tactical gas mask. This one does have a full face mask with a resistant face covering. So it is an impact resistant. So if debris is coming down, whatever from that initial blast, it is protected and won't break on you. We do got to talk about one thing first with gas masks, is you have to shave your fucking beard. You will not.
100%.
I'd rather die.
I'd rather die. You will not get a good seal. You can get a positive pressure gas mask. Those are great options. They force pressure in there and force any air out, so it won't suck in air. These gas masks will suck in air if there's a breach. So if you have stubble or you accidentally get smacked in the face and it opens up, you're going to get that little bit of exposure. The positive pressure masks don't do that. They constantly have air flowing out of it. So if you do have stubble, which you shouldn't, regardless, you should shave your beard or any facial hair. Should shave it just to be safe. But if you do end up having stubble, like 30, 40 days, 40 weeks after, it will still keep you safe.
Also, strong personal recommendation: buy multiple of whatever piece of equipment you're buying.
Right.
Buy 2 gas masks, buy extra filters, buy 2 to 3 hazmat suits per person that you're buying them for. Especially hazmat suits, that thing gets a tear in it, it's donezo. No longer working. Buy another one. I know they also make a tape that you can use if you need to get by in a pinch, but I always recommend buying extra whatever you need.
Yeah.
Also, keep in mind is long durations of exposure will not deteriorate your equipment, but it will render your equipment practically useless. If you're strapping a gas mask, like if you happen to wander into a hot zone and you didn't realize it, your equipment is hazardous to your health. You could see this example with the firefighter equipment that the Chernobyl extinguish team tried using. Their equipment, when they were right next to the power plant, became so irradiated that even when they were in the hospital, they were getting cooked. I doubt you'll even see that level of radiation if you were to walk into a hot zone. That's like walking towards the explosion. But you come across like a water source that's too irradiated, and you drink water through your mask or something, and it's just one of those things to think about.
They do also have most of these masks on Mira are compatible with camel pack water bags. So they will have a tube that you can stick in there, so you don't have to, take that breech off and take your mask off to drink water. It will have the tube in there. You sling it over with your tongue, catch it, drink out of it, call it a day, you're good to go. The shelf life for these, so the CM 6M tactical gas mask is $263, or you can get the $275 one. They are fucking awesome. They have a 20-year shelf life. You can leave it on your shelf for 20 years and you're fine. But it won't deteriorate after, that's just an estimate of how long it will last. Same with their filtration devices. They have a 20-year shelf life as well. Their dog Seaburn dome has a 15-year shelf life. Along with having a mask, you obviously want to have a hazmat suit that will protect you, full covered, feet, arms, all that, with good gloves. I'm gonna pass it on to Connor for the hazmat suits.
Didn't think I was doing the suits.
Just go on Mira.
Yeah, Jeremy was supposed to do the suits, buddy.
Was I?
You were.
1 second. Okay. Well, I can't tell you much about the material of the suits, but I can go into the initial, I guess, post-explosion on what you're supposed to do if you aren't in a safe contained area, which involves, like, your clothing. You don't need to initially get rid of them, but the floating debris and... What does it say here? Evasion? Nope.
So the Mira Safety First Breed Collapsible Seaburn Animal Arc. It's a dome that you pop up, has filters. They use the same 40 millimeter filters as the gas mask, so just make sure to buy extras of those. That will protect your dog from the same stuff that you're protecting yourself with. So you guys are getting the same level of protection. Make sure your animals are good. With hazmat suits, again, $139. $139. These don't seem to have a shelf life. Best thing to do with all your stuff that is going to be Seaburn is to vacuum seal them, just to make sure no contaminants at all get on them until you're ready to use it. You should also train with your gas mask, because running, doing all that stuff is going to be a lot different than you're used to. So just to kind of be safe, you want to still train, like we talk about all the time, is train. They also have a poncho that is 100. It protects you for 120 minutes from blister agents. So like we were talking about, any nuclear fallout falling on you with blistering agents like mustard gas, stuff like that, it's going to protect you from getting that burn on your skin.
Acid rain. Yeah.
They also have decontamination wipes. I'd have to find the exact source of where Grantham has found them, but those will work too if you can find those guys to kind of get all that radiation off of you. You do want to get some chem tape, which is for patching any holes in your hazmat suit.
Is that like an adhesive with the material of the suit?
Yes.
Overlaid it?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's 60 yards of 2-inch wide. It's like it's $50 for that stuff. But again, if you walking through the woods trying to scout out for food that's in a store nearby and you catch your arm on the woods or you're on a branch and it cuts your suit open, you're now exposed and you need to cover that up as quick as possible. So always keep that tape with you at all times. It's always good to have the boots as well. They're over boots, so they go over your suit. Your suit's going to be enclosed with booties. And then these boots are $100. You just put them straight over your suit, and you can not get tears because you walking around on the ground is going to rub that raw.
Right, and I mean, just to put it in perspective, you look at the prices individually, and some things seem inexpensive, some things seems really expensive. I have it in my cart right now through this site to completely provide for me and my wife. So duplicates, triple of everything, and I'm coming in just shy of $6,000. And this is also with the full body suits, $1,800 a piece. They're extra thick. Don't have to worry about it. With 2 backups of the standard suits. So I mean, it's expensive, but also if you break it down, $3,000 a person. This is also including a respirator for my dog as well. Isn't that bad?
No. Not if you're talking about protective measures over like years of.
And this is with double the product, just in case something fails or anything like that. You have a backup. So if you want to have no backups, you're talking $1,500 a person.
Interesting. Do they have sizing options?
They do. I think it
Like-
goes all the way up to like a 3XL.
3XL.
Jeez. Yeah, like a 3XL would actually,
Right, so even guys like me and Connor can fit into shit.
Right? I believe they actually do have infant size too.
Yeah, that's the cool part is they do also have things for children masks, children suits, everything like that. Everything from an infant to an actual child, they have something to work.
Interesting.
I mean, it really comes down to like, how much is your family's life worth to you when it comes to buying this kind of stuff?
Apparently for Nate, it's $3,000.
$6,000
Per person.
$3,000 a
Per
person.
Yeah. Okay. There was a joke in there. You didn't get it.
I got it. I just had to correct you.
Right.
$3,000 for his wife.
$3,000 for my wife. She's worth $3,000. Give or take.
How much just for the individual like dog thing? Like, okay, let's be realistic. Are you really
that
going to take care of your dogs
was-
for a nuclear holocaust?
Am I? Yes.
That's
It's $400.
Yeah.
$400. You know what you
It's
can
not
get
even
for
that big of a-
$400?
Another gas mask.
Or other ordinances.
Right. Or I can buy the mask for my dog and buy other ordinances.
Yeah, if you have the money. Flying debris.
I mean, having a pet through a bug out situation compared to a nuclear fallout, it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm a little scared. See, just like as a social, I guess, talking point, one of the things that I'm worried about is if you're close enough to actually see the flash before the Big Bang,
You're gone.
because yeah, the odds of people knowing it's a nuclear attack when or some form of nuclear hazard, radiological hazard, it's most likely either going to be on the news and then it just I don't know, like Chernobyl. You're going to have lots of radiation and wind and stuff and people are covering it, or it's going to be more like a huge bang, like everybody heard it, it was nuts, and there's going to be multiple bangs. People in Wyoming, like, even though it's flat, let's say California goes away, you're going to hear it in California, you're going to hear it in Washington, maybe not all the way where I'm
could
at,
do
but
without California.
I mean, we all could just drop the motherfucker in the ocean, but
Give them back to Mexico.
I don't know, man. The Mexicans already have that area pretty well locked down.
Well-
They can have California.
Then we might as well just give them the whole goddamn state, okay?
No. They can just have California.
That was the thing, A bunch of Mexicans just moved in, and all of a sudden, like, hey, California, and then later they just take it back through subdual means. Anyway, my point is like, you're not going to see a big mushroom cloud. It's most likely just going to be a loud, very loud concussive, noise. And you're not going to have time to check your phone because of the electromagnetic disturbance. Everything will go dead. Yeah, airburst, and that's how you know it's going to be a nuclear explosion. Is most things are dead, they're not working, and a very loud explosion. And at that point, if you're not already getting your gear and running, you should.
Right.
I mean, ideally, the government will have some sort of like alarm system in place to where we'll know before there's even an impact. So you have that.
Well, because right now, what you're relying on is the emergency broadcast system, which goes on TVs, computers, and your smartphones, because now we get texts.
But what if those are gone?
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what we're relying on.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why
Like-
I said ideally they'll have something better in place to where we'll all know like shit's about to go down. Get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually they. When I was watching, is usually they.
Save's frozen. Yeah.
Yep. Oh,
There
there
we
it
go.
is.
Usually they do an EMP before nukes, which kind of sucks because most of the time grids will go down at that point. So communication is going to be harder, all that type of stuff. That most likely will be in the area surrounding. So you might be able to, if you watch our Bug Out Essentials and go to our communications and navigation section, we talk a little bit about those types of radios that can reach distances like CBs, stuff like that, that you can reach further out to, inland, kind of North Carolina area, shit like that.
Another good way of preventing your electronics from going down during an EMP attack is a Faraday cage. Not only does it block signals coming from inside a bag or a drum or a box that you design, it can stop incoming signals like EMP, electromagnetic pulses, coming in and just frying your systems. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a Faraday cage over my PC or my radio setup. That's something you're going to have to juggle, is either keep a small handheld radio, something that's compatible with, traveling or moving, and then having that on you. Ham radios would be the best option, but they're not exactly the most
Reliable.
travel
Travelable.
safe.
Yeah.
Right. You can. There's ways of. Shit. Truckers do that all the time, but you're gonna have to build a
especially
Faraday
truck.
cage around that, and then there has to be an EMP. And at that point, who really has a ham radio, and what exactly are you gonna be looking for? Are you just
Yeah.
gonna be trying all signals to see if you can catch something? Who are you gonna be talking to? It's a very interesting overall subject to handle, is communication on top of nuclear fallout, on top of environmental hazards. It's a very bleak outcome.
And most likely, if it isn't a game of whose dick is bigger and it's not back and forth bombings, most likely the government will have a plan to try to help that area that has been affected the most. Either get everybody out, evacuate all that, or provide aid to those people. So you just have to last as long as they can get to you. If that's the case. If it's all out fallout, apocalypse, stuff like that, you're probably going to want to have your group of friends, to be honest. You're going to want to have a group of friends. You're going to want to all be prepared, ready to go, train for this stuff. and you're gonna want to have a gun. You know, we talk
Or
about
two.
or two or three or every single one of your team having a
Uh,
gun.
Another thing to keep in mind with EMPs is if you run solely a red dot, that's going to be a big problem. Because just like the
Gonzo.
ham radio, are you going to keep that in a Faraday cage? Most likely not. You're going to take it to the range. You're gonna fuck around with it. This is why you should use more
LPVOs and irons.
yeah, not electrically based sighting systems.
Yep.
Even
That's
my
what I was
PVS
gonna ask you.
14 needs to be like my night vision. You know, that also needs to be in a Faraday cage. In fact, you're probably gonna just want to box your house in copper before this whole thing goes down.
Yeah.
That's if you want everything, including the ground. Like somehow you're gonna have to get copper in the ground. But anyway, point is if you're just running like a stupid nice LPVO and it's got, you know, a red chevron illumination, it's got your, you know, that's all going to be gone.
Make
If
sure
you don't
get-
have a crosshair, you're fucked. You're
Make-
absolutely fucked.
make
It's just
make sure you have etched reticles,
Mhm.
full etched. But you're going to want a firearm of some some form, due to the fact again there's going to be that point in time where you have all your food, and the other people that don't are going to come for it. There's going to be scavengers. You might be a scavenger. I mean, to be honest, if you didn't prepare, you're probably going to have to scavenge. Whether that's finding shelves and whatever you can find on shelves in grocery stores that haven't been too much impacted with fallout, or possibly have to be the
Even if
bat.
you don't need it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't need it, you might still scavenge. I mean, if you can scavenge and find things without having to burn your own supply.
Survival of the fittest. Or the
So that's really what it's going to be.
this is why having some homies who know how to use iron sights is a kind of a big deal.
Keep your battle booze close.
It's always best to have a group of people that you can rely on. That you can, maybe you don't have a mask and they have an extra that they can lend you, or maybe you don't have a firearm and they have an extra they can lend you, stuff like that. It's always good to have that option.
Especially when you're close. I mean, it turns it into a whole different ballgame. Instead of, I mean, we'll just use the group of us, for instance. If something happens, I'm bringing my wife with me. Sabian's bringing his fiance with him. These are things that are happening. And now instead of just me trying to have to defend her life and Sabian just having to defend her life, we now have a group that we can rely on to do everything together.
Yeah.
Or instead of Connor just being solo and trying to have his own food, make his own food, protect everything, it's now a group atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's really the importance behind a team.
Make sure you can rely on your team. You can
Right.
you can fall asleep without having to worry about them doing something stupid, or also make sure you can deal with each other all the time, because for those few weeks or months, I mean, everyone is gonna get on each other's nerves. You guys are in a fucking room
You're
together.
gonna be on edge.
Yeah, you get.
The word compromise will be a very, very big word to use.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to want to do it. Everyone's going to have to do it.
Right.
You-
It's
I-
really
I
going to
mean,
come down to, do you want to fucking live or do you want to die?
basically, it's a lot of hard decision making. That includes if your buddy gets irradiated, he's dying on the ground.
He might tell
Things
you.
are gonna have to be done.
Yeah,
Right.
he might just tell you to help him out, help a brother out.
You know, you drop into a glowing pit, and you know
And
what's
you
up.
called me dark for having a bullet with my own fucking name on it.
That is.
Yeah, well, I'm trying
Yeah,
to be a
but
little
when the-
vague about it. I'm letting the viewer kind of fill in the blank. You just kind of just went, I'm gonna kill myself right off
When
the
it comes
bat.
to this shit, don't be vague. Be blunt about it.
Oof. It's a very harsh
But,
reality.
it's a solid point. You do have to have a group of people that not only can you depend upon, but you trust, down to the core. If something happens, at the end of the day, if you have a wife and you die, can you depend and trust your group to make sure that she stays safe and healthy?
Yeah.
Because that's an important thing to know. If Sabian died, we would make sure that Morgan stayed safe and healthy. These are things that as a group we know, and it's critical. It's an important piece of the puzzle.
I'm not gonna die, my guy. I'm gonna live to 103.
It was a fucking point.
He's gonna have a tumor on his nipple like the size of Morgan, and he'll, like, after she's gone, he'll talk to his cancerous tumor from
The size of a whole ass person.
Right.
Do we really want to bring her along?
Bring her before you.
Oof. Here, take Connor's shit. Hopefully you can wear all of it.
She can't. I don't even think she'd be able to lift my fucking 308.
Here, babe, you're gonna be the heavy for now on.
A saw, just like, oh god, I can't hold it, bro.
Here, bitch, you be the fucking tank for once.
You give her a saw and she pulls the trigger and you see her bouncing down the road.
Oh my gosh. She goes to shoot it and it just sends her backwards 10 feet.
To be Kevin Hart in the Ride Along movie when he shoots the shotgun, blasts himself through a wall.
Oh my god.
God.
She's probably typing in the chat right now, just like, fuck y'all,
fuck all of you.
motherfuckers.
She probably is.
She is. She said, oh, I feel so special. And then she goes, screw you, guy. Screw you. And then, okay, we get it. Y'all can stop now.
Oh, fuck.
But, yeah. Good team. Good firearms and dependability. Good prep. Your bug out kit is your refugee kit, essentially. I was watching a guy talk about that. Essentially, a bug out kit is... He explained it good, that it's a refugee kit. It is, okay, this is all my shit. This is everything I own that I care about so much I need to take it somewhere. And your plan is to never come back. You guys think about that the same way with this nuclear stuff. Like, if your town is a hot zone, you're not coming back. You can't come back. It is going to be a hot zone for a long, hot minute. So, it's your new refugee bag until you can find new shelter and new home. And make sure your gear's up to date, your gear's good to go. And buy buy good name brand shit for this stuff. Because again, we said, you don't want to feel like you're burning, blistering to death. That is not something you want to feel. But on that,
I mean, all you got to do is just read testimonies from guys who were at Chernobyl. I mean, sure, you can listen to the Japanese rice cooker incident, or you could go to a more nuclear, more like heavily.
Well, those two incidences are actually a little bit different because Chernobyl was more ground impact, and like Hiroshima and fucking Nagasaki were an airborne detonation, so it wasn't as big of an impact as Chernobyl.
This is true, but I was thinking more like people who are like face to face with radiation, the worst kind of radiation. Like, I'm not talking about somebody who got burnt or they had a kid that came out a little bit messed up. I mean, let's be fair. I'm talking about like the guys who are handling like chunks of carbide that were inside the nuclear plant.
Yeah,
it's very sad. Very, very sad.
And on that note, I believe that wraps it up with our nuclear talk. We'll just recap to do your research on whatever you go to buy. There's more brands out there than Mira that are reputable.
Right.
But, again, you do want to buy those reputable company brand, because that is going to determine if you make it out alive, if your family makes it out alive, if your animals make it out alive. Mira is the only one that does animal stuff, so if your animals have to come with you, I'm going to try my best for my animals to come with me. You might want to buy from them. I mean, I think it was like $400 for one collapsible thing, and they just use those standard 40 millimeter cartridges. But just do your research and make sure everything that you're buying for this type of situation is going to withstand the time frames of years, the time frames, of sitting, all that type of stuff. So we will wrap it up there for things you need for nuclear fallout.
Some of the things, not everything.
Some of the things.
Everything.
Again, if you want to do your own research on it, go ahead. But on that note, we will catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in tonight with us for Dumbasses.
Our last Bug Out episode, part 2, is currently on YouTube. If you guys want to check that out, it helps us out a lot. Thank you, guys.
And if you joined late this episode, you can catch it all next Saturday at 5 p.m. live on YouTube. Well, not live, but it will go get posted next Saturday at 5 p.m.
Sweet. All right.
Subscribe.
Thank you, guys.
You guys have a good one.
See ya.